As spring warmth draws out green buds from bare branches, a new year begins for Kentucky's School of Fishing. With enthusiasm high, most anglers do well. Their favorite subject, of course, is the largemouth bass. The bass are hungry and aggressive now as water gets warmer and spawning season draws near. And although they still remember how to fight, the bass seem to have forgotten last year's lessons on lures. Largemouth justly earn their popularity, but they're only one of a whole bucketful of good species in Kentucky. The School of Fishing recommends a little independent study into some of these other subjects. They might take you to new places and help you catch fish every day of the year. A pretty place to start studying is at a trout stream. Rainbows swim the cold waters of dozens of Kentucky waterways. Methods of catching trout are many. For challenge, use a tiny spinner on light tackle. Or for aesthetics, try gracing a scenic pool with a fly rod. It might be hard to get a limit this way, but then there's more to fishing than fish. Southern tradition calls for ladies first. Her nimble underwater partner leads a fast dance. Most trout in Kentucky are managed by the Department of Fish and Wildlife expressly to increase angling opportunities. It helps open the door for everyone to at least sample what fishing might add to life. Of course, fish are never guaranteed. It's a cold reality of the sport that makes a strike on a fly rod feel even better. The cumbersome fly equipment suddenly turns elegant when a trout's on the line. The fly rod is one of our oldest sport fishing tools. Time has proved it worth saving. The rainbow will never go out of style either. It's a classic of design. Before filling the stringer, casting stops. The students know by heart that fish is not all there is to fishing. Summer's approach at Lake Cumberland brings a surge of other special angling activity. As with trout, it's developed after years of research by fishery biologists and fishermen. The time to go is when the lake is still above pool and floods shoreline brush. The underwater thickets become temporary hunting grounds for fish called walleye. Walleye have always occurred in Kentucky, but management efforts have dramatically increased Cumberland's population. A limit can sometimes be caught in an hour. Walleye are immensely popular throughout their wide range. The simple reason is there's no better fish in the kitchen. These giants of the perch clan have extremely low oil content, so their fillets are light, flaky, and mild, any way they're cooked. Walleye lures usually feature a colored jig, a spinner, and a single hook to be baited with a night crawler. The rig is cast to the bottom near brush, then retrieved slowly. strikes are often gentle and the fight only fair. And action may be erratic. Walleye travel in schools that have to be located by hit or miss. The state record goes over 20 pounds, but most fish average around 20 inches, the ideal size for fillets. Summer brings a chance to teach beginning students the ABCs of fishing. Basics of bait, hook, and line are traditionally passed from generation to generation in a course on the bluegill. No other fish is as well suited for the class. Small, active, impatient, and frequently short of common sense, both fish and students stand on equal ground. Dad can expect a busy day. Just as bluegills know nothing about bobbers, so might the first-time angler, who is usually mystified by it all, but most eager to learn. While the bluegills hesitate, minutes seem like hours. Bluegills are remarkably good fighters. Little girls couldn't wish for more. She'll remember this first real live fish for a long time. Some parts of fishing are best forgotten. Dad may share his children's pleasures, but the hassles are his alone. Bluegill fishing is a busy sport. Baiting, biting, fighting, and a host of other little projects the kids create keep up the tempo for the day. The best part, of course, is filling the live basket. It's been said that time spent fishing is not deducted from man's lifespan. If that's true, a mess of bluegills may be the first drops of the fountain of youth. Another summer fishing tradition begins with an evening walk. Catfish are just beginning to stir for night class. There's nothing like catfish. Just consider their diet. Night crawlers, pickled chicken livers, dough balls, and dozens of sworn-by recipes concocted at home where they stink up the kitchen. Feeding catfish tend to wander, so a cast just about anywhere looks like it's in a good place. Tie a bell to the rod tip to announce a strike, prop it up, then settle back. Catfishing is 1 part fishing to 9 parts relaxing, partly because it's hard to do much in the dark.
Hooked into this big one. And you know that darn thing.
Frogs chorus around the lake as Grandpa adds another ingredient to the trip. He tells wonderful stories from days of old when he caught fish of monstrous size.
Throwing him up on the sandbar. He was so big I could hardly get my arms
The tails are apt to be swallowed all the way.
This is a true story, I'm telling you.
But at the sound of the bell, the old-timer jumps like everybody else. Out in the darkness, a mighty creature strains tackle and muscle. The fight is a tug-of-war. Even when landed, the fish still creates excitement. Whiskers, black slimy skin, and flattened head make it a sight to behold. Few catfish ever decorate living room walls. Meanwhile, quiet night envelops a pontoon boat on Laurel Lake. The flashlight gives hint of a sheer rock wall nearby. Kernels of canned corn are speared onto a hook to be dropped deep along the cliff face. Other corn stays in the boat for a midnight snack. The sport is trout fishing again. In summer, Laurel Lake rainbows turn nocturnal. You might say they're catfish with a flare. Ask anybody with one on the line. These after-hours trout run larger than most. The Department of Fish and Wildlife stocks them when only 9 inches long, but they can grow here for years under excellent conditions. In summer, the trout tend to concentrate in the deep water along the cliffs. This gives fishermen an exceptional opportunity to fill a cooler. Though they may seem unorthodox, corn and yellow cheese have become leading Kentucky trout baits. Cheese, in particular, seems to be the trout's choice tonight, or more properly this morning, if anybody really wants to know the time. With fish and friendship consuming the wee hours, sleep is forgotten. And the first gray light of dawn creates a mystery. The night is gone. Where in the world did it go? You couldn't see the shore a minute ago. But everyone agrees there's time for one last fish. The cooler it enters by now has more trout than ice, and is all the prettier for it. It'll take home a happy ending for a midsummer night class. August's burning sun soon gives way to September's. Touches of color appear, and days are milder. The spirits of fishermen and fish alike often rise in the more pleasant atmosphere. Following a chilly autumn night, thick fog has settled on Cave Run Lake. Nevertheless, promptly at 7, anglers begin to venture forth. The day ahead promises considerable reward for one of them. There's a bass tournament. Tournaments turn the old friendly 2-bit bet between anglers into a serious proposition. Local events like this have hundreds of dollars at stake. National meets run into 6 figures. It makes fishing a major league professional sport. Actually, tournament fishermen can hardly lose. If they don't win, it's still fun to catch fish. And now that largemouth scales have dollar signs on them, landing even a small keeper can be cause for celebration. But it will be brief. Tournament fishermen never rest. They cast and cast all day long. If wrenches and screwdrivers were turned today instead of reel handles, these anglers could probably put together an automobile with master craftsmanship. They have every tool imaginable. Most important, perhaps, is the boat. Rides can be more than hair-raising. At quitting time, fish will be transferred from the live well to water-filled bags. Shortly, most will be turned loose. They'll be recycled, if you want to call it that. These sportsmen know that fish have limited populations, and ones released today might help fishing tomorrow. But first, the bass get that critical moment on the scale. The angler putting on the heaviest stringer wins the tournament.
First place.
An engraved plaque is then presented, testifying to the winner's skill, and a handsome check rewards it. Everybody likes a prize. Rows of ugly barbed wire teeth are included with what's perhaps Cave Run's favorite prize, the muskie. Big winners get fish that are too long for the live well. Muskie season in Kentucky peaks as dreary fall weather closes the book on many other subjects and rouses the fish from summer drowsiness into ill-tempered activity. Almost any lure works for muskies as long as it is heavy caliber. Veteran baits often wear teeth-marked battle scars. Noise can be effective too. Buzzing baits sometimes enrage a muskie's stubborn soul. Oversized nets go along with the oversized lures. Like muskies in rivers and elsewhere in the state, Cave Run fish haunt snags and deadfalls. Their lifestyle dictates low population density, so considerable casting may be needed to finally set a hook. The muskie fights heavyweight. It has the power and lumbering speed of another Joe Louis or Rocky Marciano. Thanks to fish management, Cave Run is now one of the nation's leading arenas for muskie fighting. Even if the muskie seems down for the count, sloppy roundhouses with the net can lead to more action in the ring. Once in a while, the final bell chimes with the muskie still on the line. For a happy autumn student, it makes a report card worth showing. Soon, the colorful crown on shoreline trees begins to fall. The radical change occurring leaves not only branches bare, but most fishing holes too. Yet hardwood skeletons towering over juniper-sided hills still bring classes to the school of fishing. Those attending usually know something others may not, that smallmouth in big lakes are hungry. Cold water whets their appetite. November and December anglers often have the whole lake to themselves. They use deep-running lures that are reeled in slowly. Bass now seem accustomed to sluggish prey. However, they battle at no less than full speed. And more importantly, these smallmouth are consistently the largest of the year. Why is uncertain. Of course, they've grown since spring. To top it off, the total number of fish landed can reach an annual high as well. These early winter smallmouth provide hard proof that fishing does not end in fall. The net result of it all might well be a basket of bass that outweighs Thanksgiving's turkey or the Christmas goose and turns holiday dinner conversation from football to fish, to the dismay of some. When bitter cold winds blow from the north, waterfowl take over Kentucky waterways. Bird watchers may far outnumber anglers this time of year. Ponds can even freeze over. Still, there is fishing. Hot spots include Lake Cumberland, which is so big it rarely freezes. However, poorly dressed anglers may not have the same resistance, especially when the effects of wind chill get a brutal explanation. In January, another boat deserves investigation. Wide arms sometimes describe a big nothing. Not today. Striped bass exaggerate themselves. This respectable fish, which is frozen solid, has 40-pound friends. Stripers, sometimes called rockfish, are adaptable foreigners from the salty East Coast. Biologists introduced them to Cumberland and several other places to control excessive shad populations and, at the same time, add a new dimension to Kentucky fishing. Mid and late winter often see shad in shallow water, with their ravenous predators still in pursuit. The stripers can now be reached with heavy jigs. Stripers explode on a lure, then go for deep, long, hard, screaming runs. It's part of their ocean heritage and an eye-opener to Kentuckians. Anglers guessing the weight of their unseen fish often start at about 20 pounds. Sometimes they never get to find out. Whatever it was big enough to break some mighty heavy line and almost bring tears to a grown man's eyes. Yep, Lady Luck is stingy in giving trophy stripers. The anglers, of course, try for another chance. But winter's early sunset leaves them cold. For 600 miles, Kentucky's northern border lies beneath the Ohio River. Here, anglers can catch a dozen kinds of fish. At least one of them is biting in every season. November through March, anglers hope for sauger. On mild days with low water, schools of sauger sometimes stack up like cordwood in tailwaters below dams. They may be taken from boats or shore. Safety regulations of the area, of course, must be observed. Tailwaters below dams on lakes and rivers throughout the state lead in fish production per acre. Unfortunately, rocky bottoms in these areas eat tackle. For sauger, small jigs are inexpensive and effective. Minnows can also be used, either with jigs or split shot. Sauger are small cousins of walleye adapted for murky water. They occur in a number of places statewide, and wherever found, provide walleye quality fillets. Sauger alone make the Ohio River worth knowing about. Add white bass, stripers, catfish, and others, and the Ohio River becomes a required course for putting meat on the table. The very early days of spring open with anglers itching to get started. To help comfort them, nature offers the crappie. It's readily available to anyone who knows how to put a minnow on a hook. Perhaps the dean of crappie holes nationwide is Kentucky Lake. Its famous season begins in blustery March in deep water then continues as the crappie move into brushy shallows for spawning. Here, the chosen tackle of experts is a long cane or fiberglass pole. Nothing's better for dropping minnows where the crappie are. Crappie compensate for rather weak fights by offering volume. In this, they outperform even bluegills. Limits are generous, and at Kentucky Lake, so is size. Its 2 and 3 pounders are in a class of their own. A mess like this simply writes the book on crappie fishing. Before long, green tinges on shorelines herald yet another year. Nobody knows how many seasons have passed since the school of fishing began. It's often thought the school started when pioneers, just for the fun of it, caught wily smallmouth from pristine streams. It's hard to imagine how many millions of students have attended class since then. One thing is certain, though, nobody has ever graduated. There is always something to learn and enjoy while fishing. Just consider the changes recent years have brought to the sport in Kentucky. There's new habitat, new species, new equipment. And the future holds additional prospects. The tremendous value of fish as a natural resource ensures that management and research will continue. It'll be pursued not only by biologists, but by innovative anglers as well. But don't wait for the future. Anybody can fish today, whatever the season. All that's needed is a little know-how and a little luck. And of course, don't forget to bring a stringer to class.